The galaxy was quiet that day in a way that made the air on the trade station feel heavier and colder. Thousands of ships floated in the neutral zone above a massive trade world. Alien merchants and soldiers moved restlessly through the station's windows, staring into space as if expecting a ghost to appear. The whispers had been growing for weeks. Human ship was coming. Not just any ship, but a vessel so large that some claimed it was the size of a continent. No one had ever seen it, and no one truly believed it existed. Some called it a myth, others a weapon, but the most dangerous part of the rumor was that humans had built it in complete secrecy. Every alien faction was watching and waiting, wondering if the humans were about to start a war or make a show of force that could change the galaxy forever. The silence broke first in the form of a shadow, far away. At first it looked like a distant asteroid, dark and slow-moving. The traders went quiet. The soldiers stood still. The shadow kept growing until it was clear that it was not a rock. It was a wall of black metal stretching farther than the eye could follow. The alien ships adjusted their scanners, but the moment their systems tried to scan the object, the screens went dark. Even the most advanced sensor arrays returned nothing but static. Panic spread in the control rooms as engineers slammed their hands on dead consoles. Unable to read the ship's size, speed, or weapons, the shadow grew larger until the stars behind it began to vanish one by one from the windows of the trade station. Alien crews could now see the shape more clearly. It was a moving fortress, taller than the tallest orbital towers, wide enough to hide moons behind it. A human flag the size of a city block hung from one side, fluttering in the artificial gravity fields. On the top surface, hundreds of smaller ships were docked, each one big enough to be a warship in any other fleet. The name painted on the side of the massive hull was written in bold white letters: Titan's Wrath. Every alien who read it felt a strange chill, even those who did not understand the human language. The first message came without warning. Every communication channel in the sector suddenly went silent, replaced by a single voice speaking in calm, clear English. Clear the trade lanes now. No explanation. No threats. It's just an order. Alien admirals exchanged nervous glances. Some were offended by the tone. Others obeyed immediately, ordering their fleets to drift out of the way. A few captains ignored the warning and held their ground, thinking that no ship could possibly force them aside without starting a battle. Then something happened that made everyone listen. One of the alien dreadnoughts nearest to the Supercarrier blinked out of existence. It did not explode. It did not even send out a distress call. One moment it was there, the next it was simply gone, leaving only a faint ripple in the surrounding space. The crews and other ships stared at the empty space in disbelief. No one had seen a weapon fire. No one knew what had happened. Yet the dreadnought was gone, and the Titan's wrath had not slowed down. It kept moving at a steady pace each second, blocking more and more of the planet's sunlight inside the Supercarrier. Human crew members worked with quiet precision. Thousands of men and women sat at stations surrounded by glowing displays, their faces calm, their movements practiced. The captain stood on the command deck, hands behind his back, watching the alien fleet scatter before them. His eyes moved across the screen as reports came in from every deck. There was no sign of panic among the humans. To them, this was routine, just another mission. Yet outside, the sight of their ship was sending waves of fear through entire armadas. On the trade station, alien merchants began sealing their shops and hiding in secure rooms. Some sent messages to their homeworlds warning that the humans had built something the galaxy was not ready for. A few of the braver ones ran to viewing platforms trying to capture images of the Supercarrier before it moved past. All they could see was its massive surface bristling with strange weapon mounts, hangar doors large enough to swallow battleships whole, and strange shimmering fields that wrapped around its hull like liquid glass. None of the alien engineers could figure out what those fields were for, but the way they bent light made it clear that this was not normal shielding. Slowly, the Titan's wrath turned toward the planet. Its engines glowed with a deep golden light, instead of the usual blue or red of other starships. It moved with such control and stability that it did not seem like a ship at all, but rather a piece of the planet itself breaking free and drifting into orbit. The remaining alien ships quickly moved aside, clearing a wide corridor for the human vessel. The human captain gave no thanks, no further message. The order had been given once, and that was enough. Then the ship slowed. The giant bay doors on its underside began to open, revealing a blinding light within. Every alien held their breath, expecting a wave of fighters or a super weapon to emerge. Instead, the light faded to reveal something far more unsettling. Rows upon rows of smaller ships, all powered up and ready to launch, but sitting in perfect silence, as if waiting for a signal. No one knew what they were for. No one dared to ask. And as the supercarrier drifted closer to the planet, the galaxy understood one thing very clearly: whatever mission the humans were on, nothing and no one was going to stop them. A ripple moved through space like a wave in dark water, and every alien pilot who saw it felt their skin crawl. The massive human supercarrier was still moving slowly through the trade lanes when a dreadnought from the Krivok Empire, one of the proudest warships in the sector, suddenly vanished. There was no explosion, no debris, no scream over the comms. 1 second the ship was there, shields glowing, weapons primed, and the next second it was simply gone, as if it had been erased from existence. The nearby ships swerved away instinctively, their crews shouting in panic, trying to make sense of what they had just seen. The scanners showed nothing. The human vessel had not fired a missile, had not released any beam, had not even changed speed. Yet something had happened, and everyone knew the humans were responsible. The alien command channels, chaos broke out. Admirals shouted at each other, demanding to know if the humans had used some secret technology or if the Krivak ship had jumped away without warning. Engineers insisted it was impossible. There had been no energy spike, no warp signature, nothing that fit the rules of space combat, that terrified them even more. Weapons they could understand, physics they could predict. But whatever the humans had done was beyond anything they could measure. Several fleets began to back away from the carrier, their commanders deciding they wanted no part in testing what other tricks the humans might have inside Titan's wrath. The crew moved as if nothing unusual had happened. The captain, a tall man with iron-gray hair and a voice like steel, stood at the observation platform, watching the alien formations scatter. Reports came in from various decks, but no one mentioned the vanished dreadnought. It was not discussed, not explained. It was just one more part of the mission. To the human crew, it was another reminder to everyone watching that the supercarrier could act without warning and without effort. The ship continued forward, its engines humming like a slow heartbeat. Every few minutes, another alien vessel would swing wide to avoid the human path, as if afraid to be caught too close. Well, the lanes cleared ahead of them, but one alien captain, a young commander from the Valari fleet, decided to test the humans. His cruiser turned toward Titan's wrath, approaching at an angle just close enough to provoke, but not close enough to be openly hostile. He opened a wideband channel, his voice dripping with false politeness. Asking the humans to explain their purpose in this sector, the human captain gave no reply. Instead, one of the smaller craft docked on the carrier's upper deck, detached and drifted toward the Valari ship. It was a strange designs leak, silver and completely silent. The Valari scanned it, but the readings made no sense. It had no visible weapons and no shield signature, yet it radiated a strange pulse that made the Valari crew's skin itch. Before the alien commander could speak again, the small craft released a brief flash of light, and every system on the Valari ship went dark. Engines dead. Weapons offline. Lights out. The crew floated helpless in space, powerless but unharmed. After a few minutes, the craft drifted back to the supercarrier, docked again, and the Valari ship's systems suddenly came back online without warning. The humans had disabled and restored them at will, sending a message without a single word. Alien Commander did not try again. In fact, none of the fleets did. Now every ship in the area kept a wide berth, drifting quietly as the Titan's wrath advanced. Merchants on the trade station recorded the events and sent them across the galaxy, their voices trembling with both fear and awe. They spoke of a human ship so powerful it did not need to fire to win, a ship that could erase vessels or shut them down with a flicker of light. Some believed the humans were preparing for war, Others thought they were delivering a warning. Either way, no one wanted to be the one to find out which was true. The Supercarrier began to slow as it neared the planet's largest orbital ring. Docking requests from the station poured in, but the humans ignored them. Instead, the ship aligned itself with a narrow, heavily patrolled lane and kept moving toward a region of space few ships dared to travel. In the command decks of alien flagships, officers muttered in low voices, wondering what could possibly be in that direction. Path led only to restricted zones, dead systems, and a star cluster where dozens of fleets had vanished over the centuries. Whatever the humans were after was not trade or diplomacy by the time the Titan's wrath passed beyond the orbital ring. Most of the watching fleets had already decided to follow at a distance. They told themselves it was for security, but in truth it was curiosity. They wanted to know what the humans were carrying, what their mission was, and why they were willing to cut through one of the most dangerous regions in known space. Somewhere deep in the carrier's sealed lower decks, behind layers of armored bulkheads, something massive was being guarded by hundreds of human soldiers in black combat armor. It was hidden from view, hidden from scanners, but even without seeing it, every alien watching felt the same thing. The humans were moving something important, something that should not exist, and the galaxy was about to learn what it was. The first sign that something was different came when the massive bay doors on the underside of the human supercarrier began to open. Every alien ship in range stopped moving, their crews holding their breath as the great armored panels slid apart. The glare from inside was so bright it flooded sensors with white noise, making it impossible to see what was inside. Alien commanders expected swarms of fighters or bombers to pour out. Others braced for some planet-killing weapon to emerge. But as the light dimmed, what floated into view made the watching fleets go silent in a way no weapon ever could from. The bay drifted a colossal object, half mechanical, half stone, its surface covered in strange glowing patterns. Even the oldest alien captains recognized its shape from forbidden records. It was the obelisk of Theron, a relic so ancient that even the most advanced civilizations called it a myth. The last time it had been seen was over 20,000 years ago, before entire empires had risen and fallen. It was said to be a map, a key, and a weapon all in one, created by a race that had vanished before most worlds had even formed. No living species should have had it. And yet, the humans did. The comm channels lit up with frantic chatter. Alien historians shouted over each other, trying to confirm the impossible. Some accused the humans of building a fake. But the energy signatures pulsing from the relic matched the ancient records perfectly. Others asked how the humans had found it when the greatest explorers of the galaxy had failed. No one had an answer. The human carrier offered no explanation, no declaration. The relic simply floated beside it, held in place by invisible gravitational arms, like a treasure being carried openly through the heart of enemy space in the control room of the Volari. Flagship, a scholar of ancient ruins, stared at the obelisk with wide, unblinking eyes. His voice was barely a whisper as he explained to his captain that the object was rumored to point the way to the Starforge. It's a legendary construct capable of building fleets in days, cities in hours, and weapons beyond imagination. True? Then whoever controlled the obelisk could change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The room went still as the weight of the truth settled over them. The humans had not come to fight a war. They had come to carry the most dangerous object in history through the most hostile sectors of space. As the carrier moved on, the news spread like wildfire. Pirate clans abandoned their raids and began charting intercept courses. Warlords promised fortunes to mercenaries who could seize the relic. Even entire governments began secretly redirecting fleets toward the human path. They all thought the same thing. If they could take the obelisk from the humans, they could rule the galaxy. But those who had seen the dreadnought vanish and the Volari cruiser disabled knew that trying would be a death sentence inside Titan's wrath. The relic was not treated like a treasure, but like a dangerous animal. Teams of armed guards lined the corridors leading to the bay, their armor matte black, their helmets sealed. Drones floated silently in the air, scanning constantly for intruders. No one outside the highest ranks knew the full details of the mission. To the crew, it didn't matter. The captain's orders were simple: deliver the relic to its destination at all costs. And they would follow those orders without hesitation. The alien fleets trailing the carrier grew larger with every passing hour. Some hung back at a safe distance, watching and recording. Others moved closer, probing the humans' defenses, sending small scout ships to test how close they could get before the carrier responded. The answer came quickly. One pirate ship, eager to prove its courage, made a sudden dash toward the obelisk. Before it could close the gap, it simply froze in place. Every engine dead, as if the very fabric of space had wrapped chains around it. Without firing a shot, the humans towed the powerless ship away and let it drift into the void. The message was clear: approach without permission, and you will not come back. Yet the danger did not scare everyone. For those desperate enough, fear was worth ignoring if the prize was great enough. In the dark reaches of space ahead of the Titan's wrath, fleets began forming an ambush. Raiders, bounty hunters, and outlaws gathered like predators waiting for prey to walk into a trap. They knew the humans would not change course. They also believed that no matter how powerful the Supercarrier was, it could not fight everyone at once. They told themselves that together, they could overwhelm it, steal the relic, and vanish before reinforcements arrived. But as the obelisk of Theron hung silently beside the human carrier, glowing with an otherworldly light, the captains of those pirate fleets forgot one important thing. They were not hunting prey. They were waiting for something that had already erased warships without effort. And the humans aboard Titan's Wrath were not afraid of the hunt. They were waiting for it. The ambush began in the deep shadow of a fractured moon. Hundreds of pirate vessels emerged from behind the broken rock like insects spilling from a hive. They came in all shapes and sizes: fast strike craft, heavy cruisers, stolen battleships, patched together from salvage. Their engines lit up the dark, forming a loose wall across the path of the Titan's Wrath. On the pirate channels, voices barked orders, laughed about the fortune they were about to claim, and boasted about how humans were nothing more than soft-bodied mammals hiding behind big machines. But those laughs began to fade when the Supercarrier did not slow down. The human vessel moved steadily forward, massive and silent, showing no sign of fear or even acknowledgement of the threat ahead. Its shields glowed faintly like the surface of calm water under starlight. Obelisk of Theron floated beside it, unmoving, as if the relic itself had no interest in the chaos about to unfold. Inside the pirate fleet, a nervous tension spread. Some captains had seen the recordings from the trade lanes and remembered the dreadnought that had vanished without trace. But greed has a way of killing fear, and when the order to attack came, they obeyed. The first volley lit up space. Torpedoes and plasma bolts streaked toward the human carrier, warheads designed to rip apart armored fortresses. But the moment they neared the Titan's Wrath, the space around them seemed to twist. The projectiles slowed, their guidance systems spinning, out of control until they crumbled into dust and vapor before even touching the shields. No explosion, no damage. Just silence. The pirates stared in disbelief, then doubled their firepower, trying to swarm the carrier from every direction. That was when the humans finally responded. From hidden panels along the carrier's hull, strange black drones launched into space. They had no visible engines and made no sound. They moved in jagged bursts, almost teleporting from one position to another, vanishing and reappearing like shadows under a flickering light. Wherever they appeared, pirate ships died. One moment, a raider was chasing a drone. The next, it was in pieces, drifting in silence. The destruction was precise: bridges sheared away, engines carved out, weapons torn from mount, yet the crews inside remained alive, left floating helpless in space. The message was not just to defeat them, but to humiliate them. The pirate fleet began to break, some ships turning to flee, others trying to hide in the shadow of the fractured moon. But the Titan's Wrath was not done. Its side batteries came online, and for the first time, the pirates saw the full power of its guns. There was no flash, no thunder, only thin lines of light lancing across the void. Where they touched, pirate. Ships simply ceased to exist, erased from space without explosion or debris. Whole squadrons vanished in seconds.
House.
Those who had laughed minutes earlier were now screaming over coms, begging for mercy or for their drives to engage fast enough. To escape inside the human bridge, the crew moved with calm precision. There was no shouting, no panic, just the smooth exchange of targeting data and orders. The captain stood watching the tactical display, his voice even as he gave the command to leave survivors. "They need to carry the message," he said, and the guns fell silent. Across the battlefield, crippled pirate ships drifted in the dark, their crews staring out at the colossal human vessels still moving forward without hurry, as if the battle had been nothing more than a brief delay as the Titan's wrath passed. The last wreck, the obelisk of Theron, glowed brighter, its markings pulsing like a slow heartbeat. The alien fleets trailing the carrier had seen everything. The pirates had outnumbered the humans 100-1, yet they had been dismantled in minutes without a single human loss. The message was clear. No matter how many ships stood against them, the humans would not be stopped in the shadows. Beyond the ambush site, more fleets were waiting, but now their captains hesitated. Some began to back away, deciding that no treasure was worth the risk. Others still dreamed of seizing the relic, but now they knew they would have to be clever, not bold. The humans had proven their strength. What no one yet understood was that the greatest danger was not their weapons, but the mission that kept them moving forward and deep inside the Titan's wrath. Far below the command decks, the relics, containment fields shivered for the first time, as if something inside it was waking up. The betrayal came without warning. The Valari fleet, which had been trailing the Titan's wrath for days under the banner of an escort, suddenly broke formation. In perfect unison, their cruisers and destroyers powered up weapons and fired. Brilliant streams of plasma and kinetic slugs tore across the void, slamming into the Supercarrier's shimmering shields. The blast lit up space like a second sun, and for the first time since entering the trade lanes, the human ships seemed to take damage. Alien commanders watching from a distance leaned forward, wondering if the impossible had finally happened. Inside the Titan's wrath, the bridge trembled as impact alarms sounded. Status reports poured in. Outer armor plating on Deck 9 scorched, shield output reduced by 5%, minor system fluctuations, no critical damage. The captain stood unmoving, his eyes locked on the tactical map where the Valari ships formed a half circle around them, cutting off retreat. His voice was calm when he spoke. "Return fire? Negative. Disable them. I want no casualties." Around him, the crew adjusted targeting protocols. The humans were not angry. They were efficient. Outside, the carrier's side panels opened, releasing dozens of small silver devices into space. They were not drones or fighters. They did not move toward the Valari ships at all. Instead, they simply pulsed with faint light. Seconds later, every Valari vessel in range flickered. Engines shut down. Weapons froze mid-charge. Power systems collapsed. The attacking fleet drifted silently, their guns pointed uselessly at the Supercarrier. Confusion erupted on their comm channels as captains shouted at engineers, demanding answers. The truth was simple. They had just been erased from the battlefield. Without a single human shot touching their hulls, the disabled ships floated like debris around the Titan's wrath. The humans moved forward, threading calmly through the powerless fleet. On the Valari flagship, the admiral stared in cold disbelief at his dead consuls. His betrayal had been meant to be decisive, a quick strike to take the obelisk before the rest of the galaxy could respond. Instead, he had made his fleet the galaxy's most public example of failure. His crew avoided his gaze, and not a single one dared to speak as the human carrier passed slowly by their viewports on the alien observation ships, still trailing the humans. Silence reigned. No one dared to intervene. The Valari fleet was one of the most feared in the sector, and yet it had been rendered harmless in seconds. No explosions, no losses, just complete domination. To most, this was worse than destruction. A destroyed fleet could be rebuilt. A humiliated fleet carried shame forever as the Titan's wrath moved beyond the attack site. The captain gave a single order to the communications officer. Send them a message. Moments later, every Volari ship received the same transmission, a short burst of human speech, translated into their language. You have shown your intent. We have shown our response. Do not make us repeat it. The transmission ended, leaving the Volari crews staring at silent consoles. Powerless in more ways than one, the carrier adjusted its course, pushing deeper into uncharted space. The obelisk of Theron continued to glow softly beside it, its markings shifting, as if reacting to something ahead. The humans gave no explanation for where they were going or why. But on the dark edges of the star map, a swirling red mark waited, a dead star system that had been off-limits for thousands of years. Old legends called it the Maw, a place where light itself went to die. It was there the humans were headed. Behind them, the Volari fleet slowly powered back online. No ship gave chase. No captain dared to follow. And across the galaxy, the story spread faster than any fleet could travel. The humans had been betrayed, attacked without warning, and had crushed their enemies without killing a single soul. Some saw it as a sign of restraint. Others saw it as proof that the humans did not even consider the Volari worth the effort of destroying. But for those who truly understood the message, a K1 truth was now undeniable. The Titan's wrath was not just delivering a relic, it was delivering a warning. Every ship in the sector went quiet when the transmission began. It was not sent through open hails or official channels. It arrived everywhere at once, flooding military comms, civilian networks, and even encrypted government lines. The voice was steady, calm, and unmistakably human. We are not your enemy, unless you try to make us one. There was no threat in the tone, yet it carried the weight of finality. Every captain, soldier, and ruler who heard it knew it was not an empty statement. They had seen the proof drifting in the wreckage and humiliation left behind the Titans. Ratha, Supercarrier, pushed onward into the Maw, a dark star system where even light seemed hesitant to linger. The obelisk of Theron pulsed with brighter light the deeper they traveled, its alien markings shifting like a living script. Around them, the black void was littered with the silent corpses of ships from forgotten-era sulks of designs no one recognized, some larger than cities, others shattered beyond recognition. For the first time in the mission, even the human crew fell into a quiet stillness. The captain's eyes narrowed as the relic's glow pointed toward the dying red star at the system's heart as they approached. The star's surface rippled, unnaturally, as though something beneath its molten skin was moving. The obelisk broke free of the carrier's magnetic grip, drifting forward under its own power. The crew made no attempt to stop it. Whatever this mission was, this was the destination it had been leading to. The relic descended toward the star, its light intensifying until it outshone the system itself. Then, in an instant, it was gone. Swallowed by the stellar fire without leaving a single trace. The red star flickered once, then stabilized, its violent eruptions calming until it burned with a steady glowing. The observation rooms of the alien fleets that had dared to follow. This far, stunned silence filled the air. Some had feared the humans would unleash the relic's power for conquest. Others thought they would hide it for their own advantage. No one had imagined they would give it away to a dying star. Only later would the truth spread that the star had been days away from collapse, and its supernova would have wiped out more than 40 inhabited systems. By releasing the obelisk, the humans had prevented the disaster. Saving billions of alien lives, the Titan's wrath turned slowly, its massive engines igniting with golden light as it began the journey back toward known space. No words were spoken, no demands were made. Yet the galaxy's rulers knew that the humans could have kept the relic and chosen power, but instead had acted to protect the galaxy as a whole. It was an act of strength, not weakness, and it made them even more dangerous in the eyes of those who ruled through fear. As the Supercarrier passed the remnants of the alien fleets that had shadowed it, no ship blocked its path. Some even altered their course to move out of the way entirely, unwilling to risk a second confrontation. Those who had attacked now bore the shame of failure. Those who had merely watched understood they had witnessed a shift in history. The humans had not just displayed superior technology. They had shown unmatched resolve, the will to act without needing permission. and the ability to decide the fate of worlds without firing a single hostile shot by the time Titan's wrath left the maw and entered open lanes again. Its legend was already spreading faster than its engines could carry it. Stories of its battles, its impossible weapons, and the vanishing dreadnought were told in spaceports, whispered in war councils, and recorded in secret intelligence reports. The final message from the captain was repeated endlessly across the galaxy, not as a threat, but as a truth every species now understood. The day the human supercarrier appeared, the galaxy learned two things. First, that no force could stop it, and second, that it was better as a friend than an enemy.